So I watched two videos here, and I thought, you know what, let me do a video response. First, it was 78. He did a video with the. They were talking about the Brock Turner case on ESPN's First Take with Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, and I forgot the other dude's name. Don't really want to bother looking it up. Who I want to talk about, and then of course Dream Chase did a response video. But here's the thing, right? A couple of things I want to address. Number one, for some reason, because there's two types of ignorant people, right? When it comes to these certain type of situations. So, number one, when it comes to, if you've ever noticed with law and with science, those two things, there are individuals that think if they just look up some shit on Google and learn the terms and stuff like that, that they're smart and they understand the concept of law and the concept of science, but it doesn't work that way, right? And I'm going to get to that point in a moment, right? And then, of course, you have people that just don't know what the fuck, all right? So first, the First Take, pun, let's talk about First Take, right? First, all right? And if you haven't seen this footage, go ahead and check it out. But first, Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman basically gave the same sentiment that most people are giving. What the fuck's going on here? How did this dude just get 6 months in prison? How? And then that's what he was charged with by the judge. We'll get to the judge in a moment, right? But as far as, okay, this individual, right? This guy on First Take, he listens to Max, he listens to Stephen A. And of course, Stephen A. brought the point of, you don't have to go very far to look at the reality that the judge, for whatever reason, felt a lot of empathy, right, for this man, right, for this Brock Turner guy. He felt a lot of empathy for him, right? For whatever reason, he looked at him and he said, I feel bad for him. And he gave him a very light sentence in the process. Light sentence. And he did say, basically, this kid, I mean, he's not made for prison. He's not going to make it in prison. The father had the audacity to go on to give a statement saying something like, that's a big price to pay for 20 minutes against basically 20 minutes of life. Basically saying, you're going to make my son pay for that, do 6 months in prison for a decision he made for 20 minutes as compared to his life of 20 years. First of all, right, somebody needs to backhand that fucking dad, right? I mean, are you shitting me? That's the dumbest argument I've ever heard, right? So, you know how dumb that sounds? I'm 32 years old, right? So I could go shoot somebody. It's going to take me 1 second to kill this person, right? And is my defense in court going to be, well, really? You're going to punish me for a 2-second decision because I shot somebody? For 2 seconds in my life, because that bullet traveled quick, right? Because of 2 seconds in my life, you're going to punish me after 32 years of life? That's stupid. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard, right? Dumbest shit ever. It's the dumbest shit I ever heard. Now this individual, right? First of all, let me get to the context of what he was trying to say, right? And why it's bullshit. So number one, he was basically making the argument that, look, we have to look at these, we have to look at these court cases, like Lady Justice is blindfolded for a reason. We can't see color, in these cases. We can't see color. We have to just go by the merits of each case. That's it. We have to go by the merits of each case. All right? And we cannot judge one case because there was an injustice in another case. Right? So if in case A, somebody got screwed over, got the raw deal, on case B, on another court, okay, it can't be influenced by what happened in the other court. I get it, right? Like I get that. But the problem here is that's exactly the problem. That this judge wasn't seeing things like Lady Liberty, okay, or Lady Justice, I'm sorry, and her eyes be blindfolded. It's not how he was seeing things. He looked at this kid, 20-year-old man, right? And he empathized with him. For some reason, I don't know. Maybe he thought that could be my grandson or something. I don't know. Right? And he empathized with this kid. I mean, this dude was making an argument against the argument he made was against the judge. It somehow, he tried to flip it into, Stephen A., you're making this about race. You're making this about race, Stephen A. Why are you making it about race? You know, let's just judge it by the merit. Well, here's the merit. You fucking raped a girl. Rape is illegal. He kept talking about, if you have a problem with the system, that's what we vote. And rape is illegal. Sexual assault is already illegal. We don't have to vote on it. It's illegal. Right? The prosecution asked for 6 years. They gave him 6 months based on some stupid the judge felt. The judge had feed. Talking about, we got to get emotion out of the courtroom. The judge used emotion to give this guy less time in prison. Right? So this whole idea, and come on, everybody knows that you have to look at, you know, there's a thing called, and this, you know, whenever a judge makes a ruling, right, they don't want to set a precedent. Okay, so that's you have to understand that, and that's what this does. There are effects that are caused outside of one case. There are, right? It does impact how a prosecution now is going to have to look at a court case now. Like, shit, fucking judge, you know, is giving dude 6 months for, even though he was found guilty, even though there was witnesses. And there is a precedent to be set there. So there is an impact outside of the one case. There is an impact outside of the one case. This dude was found guilty for sexual assault. Okay, that's what he was found guilty for. And us as a society, if our daughters, mothers, sisters, right, if sexually assaulting them is worth 6 months in prison, then there's something wrong with our society. But here's the thing. This was a decision, an emotional decision that the judge made. Right? So this idea about we got to take emotion out of the courtroom. Well, we're not allowed as citizens to be emotional over a disgraceful verdict like this. Or not verdict, actually, decision as far as the judge goes. Because he was found guilty. That's not disputable. Right? We can't act outraged over that. We're called, oh, you're emotional. The system's not emotional. The judge used emotion. So you can look at the data and you can say, yeah, you know what, you're right. We should get emotion out of the courtroom. We should. But the problem is that there is emotion in the courtroom. That's the problem. Too many judges relating to certain individuals and not relating to other individuals. There is no blindfold when it comes to making certain decisions in the courtroom. There is none. And you can look and the data backs that up. And by the way, Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman kept excusing this guy. No, this is not you. I know you don't agree with this, but this is about the argument. No, it's about you, motherfucker. Now, that was the stupidest argument ever, right? Oh, look, I used terms that they teach you in law school. You can put the smoke and mirrors all you want. It's really not that complicated. It's not. I mean, you know that there are rape cases and sexual assault cases that are hard to call. It's a he said, she said. There's no witnesses. You know, the stories are changing. You're like, wow. But when it comes to the ones that are like, without a doubt, he did it. There's no dispute. He's found guilty. There was witnesses. You would think, as a society, we would do something about that. If not, then what the fuck? We're a bunch of hypocrites then, right? When you got over there in, where is it in, what's that place called? Anyway, over there, man, like if you go to some of these Gulf states, I forgot it slipped my mind. But anyway, there's a girl that was raped. She was raped, right, by two men. But the laws over there say that there needs to be at least like 3 witnesses or something like that. Like at least 3 witnesses or you weren't raped, right? Like even by their standards, this motherfucker would have spent more time in jail. Think about that. There was more than 3 witnesses here, even by the standards in some of these Gulf states. Right. This dude would have been found not only guilty, would have spent a lot more time than 6 months in jail. And it's hard to be convicted for rape over there. So there's obviously something wrong with the system when, yes, judges are making emotional decisions, okay, even though there's a guilty verdict, even though it's clear he did it, this shit should be etched in stone. And it should apply the same to everybody. If you're found guilty for sexual assault in the state of California, this is how much time you do in jail. And that's it. That should be put in place. It shouldn't be that complicated. You shouldn't leave it up to the judge to, relate to the kid or, like, I don't know, man, maybe it's partially her fault, so I got to kind of leeway it a little bit. I would have done it too. Who knows what this motherfucker was thinking, right? But there's a reason he dismissed himself out of criminal court cases. That's pretty obvious. That's pretty obvious. This is insane. Like it's very rarely do you have a sexual assault case where you have that many witnesses. It's where it's that that's it. He's guilty. There's not even a he said she said. This shit is clear as fucking day. I mean, even in fucking Qatar, this motherfucker would have been found guilty because there's enough witnesses that were there and they were male. I mean, this is crazy. By the way, the girl that said that she was raped by the 2 men, they obviously said they didn't do it. There was enough witnesses. She's actually in prison. I don't know if she still is this moment, but went to prison because, she had sex outside of marriage. As fucked up as that is. But even in that fucked up situation over there, right, this motherfucker would have been in jail right now a lot longer. Isn't that crazy? That's insane. That's insane. The motherfucker on first take. Oh, we need to take emotion out of the courtroom. Like what? Yeah, I agree. So tell me again. No. They looked into it. They said that he did nothing wrong. Like, oh, spare me the technicalities, okay? Spare me. Everybody knows that's fucked up. Come on. Take emotion out. Like, what are you, stupid? Are people that dumb? I agree that emotion should be out of the courtroom. I agree with that. Right? So we need to get people that get emotional about police officers shooting people when they're running away. you know, and they get so emotional that all they could do is defend police officers. Yeah, we need to keep them out of juries. I agree. We do need to keep emotion out of the courtroom. You know, I don't think people are paying attention to the emotion, right, and where the emotion is coming from. If you look at the majority of judges, if you look at the majority of prosecutors and all that, okay, you'll see a correlation there. So if anybody's getting emotional, we got to know where that's coming from, right? And should that explain the inconsistencies in our justice system? By golly gee, I don't know. Maybe it does. Can't just be a big coincidence, can it? It really can't, right? So, like, I get it, right? Oh, you can't bring up other cases about other stuff, and you guys are missing the point, right? In our country, rape and sexual assault, that's not a laughing matter. Okay, that's a serious charge. So who is prison meant for? For people like Brock Turner, right? Those people don't belong in society, right? Someone who will grab a woman against her will, right, does not belong in our streets. That person belongs behind bars, right? That's where they belong. That's who jail is for. But it's such a, see what is this judge admitting? What are they admitting? That our jails are just terrible? You know? Is that what he's admitting? Well, what's wrong with the jails? I mean, you know. What? He's not going to be able to eat McDonald's no more? Well, what's the big deal? Is there something you want to say, Judge? I mean, what happens to rapists in jail? I don't know. Is there something you want to say? Why don't you just say it? You know? I mean, what's the big deal? If somebody's serving a life sentence, they're only going to pay, you know, for, are you going to judge them for 5 minutes out of a life sentence? You know, it is what it is. No big deal. It's only 5 minutes. Does the dad have a problem with it or what? What's wrong, Dad? It's only going to be 5 minutes. 10 minutes. How about, okay, 20, right? Is that the tops? It's just, you know, it's going to be 20 minutes out of the life sentence at this, you know, no big deal. Brock Turner will be okay, right? It's no big deal if you're sexually assaulted, right? It's no big deal. What's the big deal? What, it's going to ruin his life or what? Is he going to have, like, problems? Is he going to have some type of post-traumatic stress disorder? What's the big deal? Well, what about Bubba and his what about his his cellmate? What about him? He's gonna do it one or two times, you know, just 20 minutes out of a life sentence. It's no big deal. No big deal. Right? So this is how you see the hypocrisy. Right? This is how you see the hypocrisy. Right? And that's that. Who belongs in prison? Criminals. Violent people belong in prison. Right? I mean, you guys understand. I mean, I don't think people understand some of these rape cases. It could just be a misunderstanding. It could be a girl that got so fucked up and she doesn't remember saying, yeah, give it to me. And the guy probably doesn't remember because he's all fucked up. She wakes up and she's naked and she's like, what the fuck? Did we have sex? And yeah, I didn't tell you to do it. And then before you know it, they go to court. Right? There's a lot of he said, she said. There's a lot of false accusations out there. So you would think when something that's a smoking gun and clear as day, there's absolutely no doubt that he did it. You would think this is easy. Punish this dude to the ultimate degree of the fucking law. I mean, he would have been found guilty in the Gulf states where they never find guys guilty. It's just I can't get that out of my head. Right? In Saudi Arabia, this dude would have been found guilty for rape. In Saudi Arabia, given the circumstances and the witnesses that were there. I mean, that's mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling, right? No, he just made it was just 20 minutes. Oh, that's it. It was just 20 minutes. It's nothing. Right. You know, that's honestly, that's the dumbest thing I've heard somebody say. He only did it for 20 minutes. You're going to judge him for those 20 minutes. You know, after 20 years of life on this earth. I mean, just think about every crime. Just think about every crime. Like, even if you think OJ did it, right? How long did it take OJ to do it? Right? And can you use that in court? Wow, but he only did. Come on, you're going to judge him for a couple hours of plotting? Like, really? Is it for an entire lifespan? An entire football career? The dude was in his 40s or 50s. I forgot how old he was at the time. Right? That's the dumbest shit I ever heard. So I could go right now. I could go to the mall, right? I'm going to punch an old lady in the face. Just randomly, for no reason. I'm just going to punch her, bam, in the face. Right? And then when I go to court, I'm going to say, hey, I mean, why are you guys judging me? This was a 2-second decision I made. So you're going to judge me for 2 seconds out of 32 years of my life? That's unfair. That's dumb. Honestly, that's the stupidest shit I ever heard. That dad needs to be slapped, man. Like, I hope that dude gets his ass kicked. I'm not even joking. Both of them. Right? And yeah, it's not hard to see why his son saw no problem with what he was doing. You know, is it that shocking that he didn't even see like what was wrong with his picture? Anyway, that's that. Right? I'm out of here, man.